Hey, how you doing there? Welcome to Local Sports Wrap Up. Today is January the 10th, 2023. So we continue with the Happy New Year, and I'm working today with Mr. Odds Jones. Odds, how's it go?
Not too bad, not too bad. I heard from our good buddy, Jet Set Janeski, today actually. He had asked, for the viewers who check out the episodes on YouTube, he had asked me a few weeks ago about uploading the episodes to YouTube. I was like, I got no problem doing it for you, Marty. I was like, I need the login info. And like a true boomer, he was like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, talk to your kid. So he got back to me today. He got me the login info. So if you've been going to YouTube next day or so, I'm gonna get the last several episodes uploaded for Marty.
Oh, that would be good.
Help a senior citizen out.
The good or bad with that and with local sports, Marty was actually sitting in first place, tied with Taylor. He's the Wyandotte girls bowling coach, and they lost. You ready?
I'm
we
ready.
always talk about the 29 pool, right?
Mm-hmm.
They lost 29-1. So Taylor won the 29 pool. Unfortunately, he said it wasn't a good fit, but he's confident that the girls will get it back together. It was just the loss they needed to push them over the top further down the line. So we know Jet Set will get them going, but they lost. The girls lost, and that was their first loss. They're 6-1. So Wyandotte Bears girls bowling team is where they should be. They got some things to work on, obviously, with a 29-1 loss.
Yeah, and now their season goes through a March, is it?
Yeah,
Usually?
it is March Madness.
Okay, so they're probably about halfway through their season.
Yeah,
roughly.
and they're 6-1, so that's a good start.
Yeah.
I'm sure that he would say it's all coaching, that it's all about the coaching. But at the same time, I'm not sure. He's explained to us before about the Baker games and different stuff, but they lost 29-1, and in no world is that a good loss.
No, and I hear Marty spit out all those terms. I don't know exactly how the scoring works like in a bowling tournament. I know how it works in a game.
Sure.
My scores were never typically very impressive. I know that. But yeah, when he says 29-1, I just know that that's not a good loss.
Yeah.
That's not
And
the loss.
I just wanted it to be I wanted it so bad to be a mistake. Like would you say a boomer generation that he maybe had texted me the wrong information, but no, it was really 29-1. So hopefully the girls will get better. Speaking of good news about Wyandotte, though, right? We got the Wyandotte boys. They play Thursday. That's their first game back. They play Lincoln Park, but they're not sitting that far down in the standings right now. And Thursday's going to be a pivotal game to see where they are. Woodhaven. I know Barbara loves that. They're 4-0, and Allen Park's 4-1. These are downriver standings. Edsel Ford's boys team, they're 3-0, and now Lincoln Park's 3-1, and then they play Wyandotte on Thursday at 2-2. So it looks like we'll be in for a good battle for the Downriver League on that day. Pulling up the rear, they haven't won any games yet in Downriver League, are Melvindale at 0-1, Trenton at 0-2, and Southgate at 0-2. And I guess I'm going to lean on you, Odds. You've been to the Wyandotte gym during these basketball games when they tape.
Yeah.
What can we expect?
It's usually a pretty fun atmosphere. As a matter of fact, a few times, the student section, which generally they cluster up in the far, what would be from where we're shooting, the far right-hand corner of the court. That's where all the students cluster, and they get pretty animated, and they like to imitate some of the chants that I'm sure they hear on the college games that are broadcast on ESPN.
Yeah.
And there's been a time or two where the athletic director or coach had to kind of be like, simmer down a little bit.
This isn't Cameron Indoor. You got to calm down. I got you. Yeah. No, so I'm stoked about it, to be honest. I think that it'll be fun experience, and then we'll get an opportunity to see them. Mentioning that, Barbara, I got a little cousin that actually is playing for Woodhaven this year. He's only a freshman, so he's on JV. But his mom called and told me that I hear that you're downriver. You should come and see Jesse play. And I'm like, all right, potentially. And who's he play for? And when she said Woodhaven, I said, what? They must be pretty good. She said, yes, they are. And as we look at the top of the standings, they're 4-0. So I plan on attending that game as well. So we'll get a couple games in there. And looking forward to seeing Lincoln Park. I'm glad that they're not 0-something. It's going to be a good game, and it's going to be a game that matters because if Wyandotte wins, they can shoot up the polls to at least fourth in the conference, which is huge this time of year. Like you say, as they get prepared for March, we'll see what they're doing.
It's always fun for me when Wyandotte and Lincoln Park match off because Wyandotte's my current home, Lincoln Park's my hometown. So every once in a while, I'll run into a teacher that I used to have, Coach Greeno, who was the football coach at Lincoln Park for years, was an old teacher of mine.
Gotcha.
And this is probably 6-7 years ago now. We were covering a football game, a playoff game, and I wasn't aware he was still coaching. But before the game, I found out that he was, so I stopped and I went to the locker room like, hey, can you go get Coach Greeno for me? And he came on out and just wished him luck and everything. And he was a great teacher. Okay. Yeah, it was nice to run into.
What class did he teach?
I had him for 7th grade. Let's see, I think I had him for English. Okay. And, I wasn't what you would call maybe a model student. I was okay, but that was my problem. I was just okay. But he was one of those teachers, he saw more potential in me, but unlike a lot of other teachers where it was just like, this kid's out of line and telling jokes, we better punish him, he was smart. He knew how to pivot my attention to be a better student without punishing me, which I thought was, pretty effective, pretty smart. He gave me tasks to do.
Yeah.
He saw I had all this energy. He was like, all right, kid. Yeah, he used to have me go get his golf clubs from his car. Yeah, so great teacher. And so those little connections there make some of the games that much more interesting and fun.
No, and I agree. And it is about those relationships that you create in school, right? So I can see where you would have an interest for both teams. We had coaches similar, that they could handle it. And they were your econ teacher. And so they knew you in a different light. And they knew they could also punish you on the field. So it was a little different. You treated them differently, So, no, I'm looking forward to that. As far as games for this week in the Downriver League, you have Allen Park playing Edsel Ford. That must be on the January 12th. And then you got Trenton playing Taylor on January 12th. That Wyandotte and Lincoln Park is a 6:30 start, which is good to know. Lincoln Park and Wyandotte's a 6:30 start. And then on the 13th of January.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Didn't realize we had one this month until it was pointed out to me. So.
I love Friday the 13th. I was born on the 13th.
Really?
If I said a Friday, would you look it up? No, I
was
born on the 13th. Yeah, March 13th. But Friday the 13th, Woodhaven plays Southgate. And then Gibraltar Carlson, it says to be determined. That's weird, but they play at 8 o'clock. Must be something funny going on. And then Matawan plays Taylor at 6. And then Wyandotte plays Monroe. So Wyandotte's going to have to double back from their game on the 12th against Lincoln Park, and they go against Monroe the next day at 6. So, and then to finish out the week, Carlton Airport plays Lincoln Park on the 14th. Saturday the 14th. Yeah. So, no, we're looking forward to some basketball news. What about the hockey world? What do you think's going on in there?
I know we had, Coach Cesena was on Bears Den a few weeks back, and then, when athletic director was in here,
Shay,
he mentioned just how pleasantly surprised he was with how they're competing, and I know we mentioned back at the beginning of the season just the utter deficit they're at with their roster, and then the last time Coach Cesena was in here, he mentioned that it was even worse than when they'd started because of injuries.
Now,
so they've. I think for what they were facing and the level of talent they're playing against, they've had a very productive season. Yeah.
I wonder, so I'm a football guy, basketball guy, baseball guy. Those are the sports I played in high school, right? And knee injuries are huge in football, even when we were young. I would say knee injuries in basketball, maybe rotator cuff in baseball, or arm in general, tired arm, whatever it might be. What's the injury that happens most in hockey?
Well, I mean, knee injuries are certainly always a threat. In fact, I mean, in the NHL, and I'm sure it's trickled down into the minor leagues, you get yourself thrown out of a game if they think you're targeting a check at someone's knee. I mean, you destroy someone's career.
Got you.
Beyond that, I mean, concussions. I mean, they've, like in football, they've worked pretty tirelessly in the NHL to get shots to the head out of the game. If you look at clips, say from even the early 2000s to today, and some of these hits would have been delivered by what were celebrated Hall of Fame defensemen at the time, like a New Jersey Devils Scott Stevens. I mean, he was a headhunter,
right.
But at the time, it wasn't illegal, which nowadays seems crazy. I mean, he was probably the prime example. He'd leave guys unconscious on the ice or literally wobbling trying to get back to the bench. And as a fan at the time, if you like to see those big hits, you'd be like, look at that, guys.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like, you see something like that, I mean, you know somebody's hurt.
Yeah.
So concussions are definitely, I would say, still in hockey, probably maybe still like the number one dangerous injury. Beyond that is, and another thing they've started to crack down in recent years, hits from behind, the boarding, checking into the boards. Even if, you're not even talking a cross check, but if you see the numbers, I mean, that's what they teach the kids from the youngest age. Even in a lot of leagues, they don't have numbers on the back. They have a stop sign.
Wow.
If you see the numbers, stop. You can't hit that player. I mean, you
Gotcha.
do some real damage. So yeah, I'd say those are the big ones.
And that makes a lot of sense with the head, because I think that just through the small amount of time that I've been involved with hockey, the helmet could be a lot better. I mean, it seems like it could be, yes, it would be heavier, and I don't know if that's why they're not doing it, but it seems like they could put air pads in there like we have in football helmets. They could put something in there to stop some of the brain trauma. And I also would think, and maybe because I'm not a really good skater, but I would think that groin injuries would be high up there.
Yeah, I mean, that's fairly common, just the skating strides and
Sure.
stuff like that. But like with the concussions, I think when the league really started paying attention is when you see guys who had superstar Hall of Fame potential and their careers are being cut short. Probably in the last generation, there may be no better textbook case than Eric Lindros.
Sure.
Eric Lindros, he's a Hall of Famer, never won the Cup, but he suffered, I think, 8 concussions during his career. And now part of that, Eric Lindros was an interesting case because he was always one of those players, he was so much bigger than his peers.
Sure.
That prior to being in the NHL, he was a man among boys. And what happens to some of those players, in fact, the Wings had a player just a couple of years ago, Anthony Mantha. Similar case. In juniors, you look at his numbers and you think, wow, if this guy can replicate this at the NHL level, first ballot Hall of Famer. It doesn't always go that way. And one of the reasons it doesn't is because when you're that much better than your peers at that young of age, guess what you do in hockey? You develop a habit of skating with your head down. When you get to the NHL, guess what happens? A guy like Scott Stevens comes along and says, put your head up, kid. And that's what happened to Eric Lindros, skating with his head down a lot, and you look up the clips.
Yeah.
Hammered.
Yeah. And I remember Lindros, and I remember him seeming bigger.
Oh, yeah, big guy.
Yeah, 6'4", 6'5",
Yeah,
something, ridiculous.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's interesting to know that. Yeah, keep your head up.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to keep your head up, and I think that's the challenge for not just the player, but for a coach. If you have a kid like that, especially you're looking at a kid who is going to the draft. And there was no secret. Eric Lindros was probably 14 years old. They knew that kid was going to be in the NHL. But I would love to have known, like at the time, was that something his coaches were preaching? Because at the time, those type of hits were still legal.
Yeah.
And yeah, he paid dearly for it. Still had a full NHL career, but he lost hundreds of games due to injuries. And ultimately, his career was cut short because of concussions.
Yeah, and the thing that we know now, right, even with concussions, is that if they had 8 reported, he
Sure.
had way more
Sure.
than 8.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a time when they weren't reported, like they weren't even understood as well as we understand them now.
And I'm sure DeSena is not Coach DeSena for Wyandotte. He's not gonna put any kids in jeopardy. They're not making any money, so you know
Right,
what I mean.
no.
So he's gonna have to take special precautions if there's even a slight
Yeah.
thought that it was gonna be a concussion. Then they're coming out of that game.
Yeah, I think especially at the high school level, knowing what we know now, they're pretty diligent about protecting those kids from those kinds of injuries, because I mean there's the type of injuries that they're part of the game, but like headshots aren't part of the game. Like that's not a competitive nature. Like,
That's not how it goes.
That's
It
not
doesn't
the
have to
game.
be. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Like you're pulling a groin or even a broken bone. Like that happens in football and in hockey, but concussions are something that we can and should be trying to reduce at every level of the sport.
I would be interested to see when they play again, because I would like to go check them out, man. I'd like to take my kids to that and see, just for them to get different levels. So it looks like on January 6th, Woodhaven actually lost to Carlson 4-0. Trenton beat Orchard Lake St. Mary's 3-1. And then Allen Park beat Trenton 3-2. Grosse Ile popped Carlson. No, Carlson won 5-3 over Grosse Ile. Monroe St. Mary's won 7-2 over Southgate. And then Utica gave it to Wyandotte a little bit, 6-2. But it doesn't tell me when the next game. I'm going to look on the site and see if I can find out when the next game is, because I definitely would love to check them out, especially after having athletic director Schley on here last week and him kind of talking about the program and how he sees it moving and what direction. I think we're going in the right direction, so it'd be a good thing to see.
The Yak is a fun little arena to catch a hockey game at, especially, remember a few years ago we covered a game between Wyandotte and Trenton, so like a rivalry game. It went to overtime. The stands were pretty well filled, and the Bears got the win in overtime. I mean, those are exciting games, to watch as a fan. We were covering it, but like even being, commentating it, you're into the game and you're following it play by play. So
no, you want it to be close. And
yeah.
No, those are the best. I think rivalry games are the best, As far as girls basketball goes, the last time that they had a game, Inner City Baptist whooped on Dearborn Edsel Ford 53-24. Wow. And then tomorrow, the games will be the opposite of what the boys are.
Right.
We talked about that, where Edsel Ford plays Allen Park, Fordson plays Trenton. That game's at 7:30. Lincoln Park plays Wyandotte. That's going to be in Lincoln Park for the girls. Southgate plays Woodhaven, and then Taylor plays Trenton. If you're going to that Taylor-Trenton game, it's actually at 6 o'clock, not at 7. So it looks like the girls' basketball teams are doing well. And the last time we looked, the Wyandotte girls were on a 2-game winning streak.
Right.
So the Lady Bears are hot right now. And so that's a good thing. We got some positive things going with the girls. Yak Arena.
Yep.
You talked about the Yak Arena being a great place to actually watch a hockey game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else you can do there?
I do.
What?
You learn to skate.
You can learn to skate. So session 3 looks like it's going to get started actually at the end of November. The next session is Saturday. Starts Saturday. No wonder they're telling us about it. Starts Saturday, January 7th. Space is limited, so you better register today. Class time is subject to change, so they're covering themselves there. But you can learn to skate, and they got everything. They got everything from adult classes to 6 and older, and then freestyle classes. So the Learn to Skate program is going to start it's just started last Saturday, January the 7th. So go out there, put some skates on. They got skates there for you. You don't even have to buy skates. It's not a big investment, right? Have you been there recently?
I haven't been there to skate before. I was going to ask you, you said your son's getting into hockey. Have you been on skates?
No.
No, you haven't been on them at all?
No, I'm too old.
No, you got to get on
No,
them.
not at all.
It's fun. It's like, you know what? Like, I mostly played roller hockey or street hockey growing up, but I got on skates a number of times. And honestly, other than stopping, it's easier skating on ice than rollerblades.
Oh, yeah?
Whether it's
because that's single line. Both of them are, I guess.
That. It may be. I found it easier. I found it like I was never, my skating was never my strong suit in hockey, and I found on skates I was a much better skater. So I think, yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, you feel like you're flying. Once you get going, it's fun.
Hey, I'm 50 years old, Oz. I'm scared to fall.
We'll get some pads on. You'll
I'm
be all
scared
right.
to fall. I can watch that kid. And you know, the other part is, like, your kids think you're great. You know, they think you're good at everything.
You don't want to.
Nah, I don't want to stop that now. Not for skating. Maybe something else later down the line, you know?
Yeah.
I want Nick to think that I'm the best skater he's ever seen not skate, you know?
Yeah.
So I just kind of leave it to his imagination. But I know that there's really reasonable rates. We did Trenton more than Yak, but it was $5 or something.
Yeah.
I'm talking about very small amount, you know. I'm not sure what the Yak price is, but it's a lot closer. So maybe with the money I save in gas, it'll be fair to give. So
anyone looking to skate, you want a little bit of atmosphere. A nice place is Campus Martius. I've skated there a few times around the holiday season. They've still got the tree and all the lights up. It's beautiful. Yeah.
And we, Campus Martius, we go Thanksgiving for the parade. And that's our little family thing is you go ice skating after. They go ice skating after, right?
Okay, that's what you do.
No,
you had American Coney?
No, I generally, before this year, we would, because the Lions game was on during their skating. So I would, get everybody their skates, get the cocoa, whatever, and then I'd disappear, say, hey, I'm going to run over here to, at that time it was the Hard Rock Cafe.
Yeah.
And I sneak over there, get a chicken finger, watch a little bit of the game, and then I come back. You know, but now they've made it better for me. Wife, I'm sorry. They're watching, they got me, right?
Yeah.
But they got it right now where there's just a little concession stand right outside the ice.
Okay.
So they can see me get the chicken finger now.
There you go.
And it's fair, because I can see when they're coming to get me. But no, learn the skate program, that's a great thing. The other thing that I think that is underrated in Wyandotte, and when Schley was on, we were talking about like small knit towns and cool things. Local sports, youth basketball. I know when we first moved here, my kids played. They were in 4th and 5th grade, and they played basketball over at Joe Brighton. So that's practices for that are starting on the 16th. And it'll run until March 13th, which is my birthday, and it may be a Friday this year.
You know what? You keep mentioning your birthday. I know we've mentioned my birthday's 3 days after yours, 16th. So
that's why.
I mean, we're gonna have some sort of an outing.
Yeah, right before St. Pat's.
That's
too.
right.
So there'll be plenty to do, I'm sure. But no, so the youth basketball program is going to start. It's for Wyandotte residents and students. It'll be at Lincoln Gym. It looks like the kids that are in those schools will practice at their school, but then they'll play their games on Saturday at Joe Brighton. Practice times for boys and girls, Mondays and Wednesdays, 5 to 9. Tuesdays and Thursdays for boys, 5 to 9. And it was always really nice and organized. I saw Bubba on the way in. He was always the ref. So it's a good event, man. It's a good opportunity for kids to learn the fundamentals. They had really good coaches. So sign your kids up. Go. All right?
And I know we got a few minutes left here. We got a few signings. It was Riverview, Gabriel Richard, Megan Radikowski,
Radikowski, yeah, that's her.
Signed with Adrian College to play softball. Same school, Riverview, Gabriel Richard. Senior Nick DeSorto signed to play football at Eastern Illinois.
Wow.
And then a couple more. Taylor High's Chloe Grimm signed to play softball at the University of Michigan Dearborn. And in Riverview, it's Maddie Winecki signs to play softball at Concordia.
Now, the thing that I can say, my kids have, through their softball travel league, have played at both Adrian College as well as Concordia. Beautiful stadiums. I'm talking about state of the art. You're thinking a small college doesn't have it. Their facilities is phenomenal. Now, I don't know what they do in the winter to get prepared for the season, but their outdoors facilities are immaculate. Yeah, they really are. So that's congratulations to those girls. I'm not sure where Dearborn, I don't know where U of M Dearborn plays at. I can't even picture a stadium close to Fair Lane or in that
Yeah, I don't
area.
know.
But congratulations to her. I think that the cool part, that's the goal, right? To go to college,
Sure.
get a better education, and if you can do it for free,
Right, yeah.
and you're doing something that you love, let's go.
You
Yeah.
can do anything for free in life. If you can get it for free when it usually costs,
Yeah, no,
Take
that's a
it.
good
You
deal.
take it.
It's a good deal, and their parents are close enough to them where
Sure.
they can go and watch those games,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that that's huge. What about this? If you're bored, and this is the second Tuesday,
Yeah.
right? Maybe we can sneak into the Copeland Senior Citizens building and we could play drop-in shuffleboard, $2. That's 11:30 to 1:30, and they'll give you the equipment. Second and fourth Fridays. That's over at the Copeland Senior Citizens, right?
yeah, you're on notice, seniors. We're going to come hustle you. Shuffleboard. You're going to empty your pockets.
Yeah, we'll play for something. That'll be fun, But as we wrap up today, man, I appreciate you, Oz, for jumping in. We did get a couple emails. One of them was Jet Set telling us to make sure you put it on YouTube. But you can do local sports wrap up. Send us your kids' information. Let us know what they're doing. Let us know what local sports team they play for, and we'll celebrate them on television. We'll love it. All right? Great. Have a great day. Take care.
Hey, we're out of here.